Hello and welcome back. This week we're talking about navigating big life challenges. These years from our 40s to our 50s, coming up to our 60s, can be some of the most tumultuous of our life and extremely challenging. Not only are we dealing with the hormonal changes, but we're dealing with lots of big life changes. So what's really going on? We find often during these years that we're facing big relationship changes. We might end up getting divorced, very, very common in our 40s and 50s. We might end up remarrying. We might find that our kiddies leave home, that our relationship with our parents changes. All of these things are really stressful and challenging. We might also find that our work is changing. It's very common in our 40s to have a career change, maybe to go back and reskill, go to university, sell a business, start a new one, change direction, get a promotion, right? And then, of course, we're into our 50s and we're reevaluating what do we really want to do long term. And all of this, some of this can be extremely positive, but nevertheless, it's a big change. It takes energy and it's stressful, right? We also can experience lifestyle changes, right? It's very common to be, okay, we're moving cities or, selling a house, buying a new one. We find that our changing circumstances within our family unit, say if the kiddies leave home, that suddenly our lifestyle's quite different, right? And again, it can be quite positive, but nevertheless, change is stressful and we have to adapt, right? And it takes energy. And this is what's going on. And then, of course, there's the health changes, that our body's changing, that of not only our hormones, but we might find that something that was just a niggling concern now becomes a major concern, or a chronic health condition raises its head, all right? And this causes stress, right, and anxiety. So you can see there's a lot going on in our lives. So no wonder we're having a really tough time. On one hand, we're trying to deal with the hormonal changes. We're not at our full capacity, right? Because we're struggling with this. Yeah, we're faced with these really big life events. So I want to talk about this today. And why is it important to talk about it? Because if we don't, we can feel really alone, right? We can feel like we're on our own, and in fact, we're not. Many, many women are going through the same thing. I can absolutely reassure you of that because I've spoken to so many. And it's really the norm, right, to be struggling with big life changes, often around relationships. It might be financial, right? There's so many things. And so, as I said, if we talk about it, we realize, I'm not alone. There are other women struggling. And today's like a little chat, right? You're talking back to me in your head. I know you are. As I'm talking, we're having this little conversation, right? Even though I can't actually hear you right now. All right. But I've coached so many women that I have a rough idea of what might be going through your head. And this is why I've done this episode, because talking about it helps a lot. We can go into denial, right? When big things happen, especially if they're unpleasant and unwanted in our lives, instead of actually facing them and feeling it and dealing with it, we can actually go into denial and we kind of just disconnect from it. And that's not healthy because it won't go away, right? It's still going to be there and it's still going to be a problem. And we might feel overwhelmed with feelings like I'm feeling anxious or hypervigilant, like always on guard, like what's happening next? What's going to happen next, right? That's an awful feeling. And so when we kind of don't face up to things and we keep pushing them to the side, we can kind of, this cupboard of experiences gets fuller and fuller and fuller, right? Because we're not actually dealing with them, right? So none of these things are very helpful. So today I want to help you. I want to show you some tools and a path to feeling better. So how do we navigate the big life changes? The first thing is, let's talk about the mindset tool check, the roadmap. Remember, there's 3 phases: the letting go, the transition, and the arrival. So it's often helpful to think, where am I in this roadmap? Right? So if you're facing a relationship breakdown, have you moved through the letting go phase? Or are you stuck there? Are you still in the transition phase where everything's in flux? All right. Or have you arrived? All right. So in the letting go phase, it's really normal to experience a wide range of emotions because we're having to kind of let go of the old And that creates many emotions, like, especially if it happens quickly, we can feel quite shocked. If we're made redundant out of the blue, there's a shock that happens. We can feel angry, right? We can feel confused. These are feelings associated often with grief, right? When something happens and we lose someone, for example, quickly, or even if we lose someone full stop that we care about, we go into a grieving process, right? This is completely normal, and we're designed to have these feelings as a way of working through the trauma of what's happened. It's okay. We can feel sad. We can feel upset. All right, we're having this grief. Let yourself experience those feelings. Right? And even if it's a positive change, like say you're selling a house and buying a new one and you love the new house, there's still some sadness, right, with letting go of the old house. And just allow yourself to do that. Have a little cry if you need to. That's okay, right? The main thing is we let the emotions flow. We don't bottle them up. Remember the river flowing, right? The river as it flows naturally goes around the rocks and over the logs and finds its path forward. If we block it up like a dam, right, eventually something's going to give and it's not going to be pretty. So allow yourself to feel these feelings. As you do that, you'll move into the transition stage. All right, the transition stage is where, okay, things are changing, things are in a state of flux. We don't always know how it's all going to work out. We don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Living with uncertainty is really important. It's a skill that we develop over time, right? It's wisdom and experience that we can be okay with not having it all worked out. So that's why in the transition stage, it's important to be at peace with, hey, I don't have all the answers. And I can't have all the answers, but that's okay because things are changing and I'm moving forward. And then you arrive. Oh, and sorry, I wanted to mention with this transition phase, the shift gears tool is really helpful because remember, the shift gears is we're going from automatic, the old way of doing things without really thinking, to okay, being adaptive, being open, being flexible. So in the transition, as things are in a state of flux, don't stay in that old way. Boom, new way, open, willing to try, willing to test new things. It doesn't mean you're going to do it that way or that's going to be the final decision, but give it a go. All right, so shift gears. And then you'll arrive at your new place in life, arrive at a place of peace, arrive at a new point in your life, ready to move forward as the new woman that you are, because we do change, all right? And that change is positive when embraced in a positive way, all righty? So let me give you a few important tips that have really helped me. The first one is get the facts, all right? It's really easy to make assumptions about things, and I have a little mantra that I tell myself, don't assume, all right? Because often assumptions lead you down the wrong path, all right? So don't assume things. Don't assume what people think, right? Don't, even if you know them really well, ask them. Get the facts. Don't just assume because you heard it on TV or somebody said something. Go and find out for yourself. Do a Google, make a phone call, right? Talk to a professional. Get the facts, and you'll be amazed, like the majority of times there is a difference between the facts and your assumptions. It might only be a little thing, it might be a big thing, but you can be incredibly thankful that you took the time to get the facts and not just make an assumption and then base decisions on things that aren't actually accurate. All right. The next thing is be kind to yourself. All right. This isn't a time of life where everything's going to be perfect, right? Well, you're not perfect. Life is not perfect. We know that, right? So don't get stressed when things don't go to plan. All right. And it's not just so. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle. Recognize that this is a tough phase of our life and do that like third person talking, like, hey, Bill, give yourself a break. Right? You don't have to get it perfect. These things are going to happen. This is a difficult time. Be gentle on yourself. Talk to yourself. Remember, in that third person, we talked about it early on in the series, how powerful it can be when you do that, to separate yourself out and become more objective. Next, trust your intuition. This is a big one, right? Now, our intuition is the means by which our mind brings to us the answers. Remember, we have a conscious and a subconscious mind. Our conscious mind is only using a small capacity of our brain. Our subconscious mind is able to process a massive amount of information that we could never consciously process, right? And as it does that, it's going to bring the answers to you through your intuition, through your gut feeling. That's what it is, because your subconscious mind is taking in all this information and processing it and then bringing you up a little prompting like, hey, watch out for that person. Or, hey, pay attention to that. Hey, don't forget XYZ. Maybe you should. Remember that little voice on the inside, and you can easily tell the difference between this. If it gives you a bad feeling and you feel stressed and anxious, that's not an intuition. An intuition always brings a peace, right? A feeling of, yeah, okay, I get that, right? It's a little flag trying to wave and get your attention to take some action. So listen to your intuition and trust it. Then go and get the facts, talk to people and find out and put the two together, right? And you'll find that you'll make radically great decisions in your life by combining these two together. Now, the next thing is spring clean your emotional cupboard. This is a big one. Now, we all have a cupboard in our house, right, where all the bits and bobs go in that don't seem to belong anywhere else. And it always seems that no matter how much we throw out, that cupboard is always full and we're trying to stuff more things into it, right? And there comes a point at, right, you have to concede defeat and go, nothing else is going to fit in that cupboard. We have an emotional cupboard, right, where we're kind of putting in all these things and past experiences and thoughts and ideas and values even that are all in there, right? And there comes a time where we just can't cram any more in. If we want to grow and be open and move through change in our life, we have to make some space. And that means letting go of some of the old ideas and thoughts, right? And often these are negative things people have said, judging thoughts, experiences that we've hung on to and dwelt on in our memories that aren't positive and uplifting. They're not serving us anymore. Let them go. Do a spring clean. And hey, sometimes it is physical things. It might be a habit. It might be a friend that always seems to make you feel worse after you've seen them not better. Let it go. Make space for a new friend. Make space for new things, all right? It's really powerful. And then maintain your routine. Now, this is a really good tip if you're faced with a sudden shocking change, right? We will go into shock, right? And we're in that grieving process, whatever it might be. It might be a sudden passing of a loved one. It might be being made redundant at work. It might be some unexpected, very bad news, right? That's revealed something about somebody, right? That's come as a big shock. And we kind of, it's very normal to kind of go into, crawl under the covers and hope that it's going to go away and kind of, feel ourselves shut off from everyday life, right? But by connecting to everyday life and everyday routine, just the simple things can really help you to feel grounded and help you move through the phases of grieving and letting go into the transition more quickly. So try to maintain your routine. It'll really, really help you. All right, so traps to avoid. Don't worry about what might happen, all right? Oh, I used to be awful at this. I used to always be stressing and worrying about what might happen. If a little blip happened, I think, oh, what if X, Y, Z, and what if that? And I was wasting all this emotional energy, right, on things that hadn't even happened yet. And one day I realized I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally exhausted because I'm worrying about all this stuff and it hasn't happened. And then when it does happen, I don't have any energy left to cope. All right, so let's take a hold. And it takes some mental discipline, right? But you can do it. And when you find yourself worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, and I say to myself, Belle, don't worry about it. Right? If it happens, worry about it then. But don't waste your energy, your precious energy, worrying about that right now. Does it make sense? It's a game changer, believe me. Don't rush, all right? When we're faced with change, especially if it's traumatic, it's really easy to have a reaction, right? And to quickly make sudden decisions or changes, and often guaranteed they're the wrong ones, right? Because we've made them in the wrong state of mind. So if you find yourself rushing, right, that nervous rushing to do things, we naturally obviously want to fix the situation, but it's not going to help it if we fix it the wrong way out of panic, right? So just tell yourself to take a deep breath, relax, and just remember that old phrase, sleep on it. It's gold. Take a little bit of time. Might be a few hours, it might be a night, it might be a week, it might be longer. But if you feel yourself rushing, that's a signal, a little flag to slow down. All right? And the next thing is, don't try to work it all out, because we just can't. And there's certain personality types that have to have it all worked out and all the answers. And that in itself creates stress, right? As we get older, we have to learn to live with uncertainty. If you can live with a little bit of uncertainty, right, you'll find your life will be a lot more fulfilling and happier, because you're giving yourself the space for the right answers to come. You're not forcing it, right? Like, I have to have an answer no matter what, and I'm going to feel better, even if it's the wrong answer, right? It doesn't make sense. Give yourself time for the right answer to present itself, and you'll find yourself a lot happier. And don't try to do it all on your own, okay? As women, we're kind of been, programmed to look after everyone else, right? And there's no one looking after us, and that's not right. When we need help, we need to reach out for it, and sometimes that might be professional help. 1 or 2 sessions with a professional counsellor can make all the difference in the world. There's no shame in getting help. It's amazing how much clarity can come from talking to someone who is objective and not connected with your circumstances or situation, right? So if you're not sure where to start, talk to your doctor and get a referral, right? Or even just start by talking to a friend that you trust. It will make all the difference in the world, rather than being in your head all the time. When you get out of your head and you start to talk and share things, it's so much easier to see things for what they really are. All right, so the next steps for this week: spring clean your emotional cupboard and make room for new things in your life. So just get a piece of paper and just sit down in a quiet time, 5 minutes, that's all it takes, and just make a few notes and think, hang on, what am I hanging on to? What's in my cupboard that I don't need it to be there anymore? Old ways of thinking, words that people have said to you over the years, right? Judging comments, negative, hurtful comments, let them go. Right? Or maybe it's a person that every time you see them, you feel worse than not better. Let it go. Let the friendship drift away and make room for a new friend that's going to uplift you and make you feel good, because you're changing, right? So it's okay. These things will change as we grow. That's all right. Our friends might change. Right? That's completely all right. Where we're putting our energy will change. Our habits will change. This is a positive part of moving forward in our lives. All right, number 2, choose one thing about your future that's been worrying you, and go on a fact-finding mission. All right, so I can't tell you how many times that I've been worrying about something for weeks, sometimes months, and when I finally do something about it, I'm like, oh my God, that was just a phone call. And now I'm feeling so much better because I have the facts. I know what I'm dealing with. And the stress of worrying about something and not doing anything about it or finding out the facts was 1,000 times worse than actually making that call and finding out the facts. All right, so something might be on your mind that you'd like what I've described. Say yourself a go, okay, I'm going to talk to that person. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to speak to my lawyer. I'm going to get some professional help. I'm going to talk to my doctor, whatever it is, to get the facts that you need to deal with that thing you've been worrying about and wasting energy on, right, with all the what-ifs, right, and assumptions. Get the facts. And then number 3, get some practical support or professional guidance if you need to. So if you're listening to this today, you know if you need to, right? That little intuition's going, you know what? Pel's right. I need to talk to someone. All right, so do something about that this week, right? Reach out. If you need to, just message me. I'll help you find somebody, all right? If you don't feel you can do it on your own, okay? Because I care about you, all right? So remember, it's really important to be having these conversations. Big stuff is going to happen. And sometimes it's good stuff and sometimes it's bad stuff, right? But if we're equipped with some skills, right, and some of the tips that I've talked about today, we'll be able to navigate this in a much more positive way, right, and move through those 3 phases. Remember, the letting go, the transition, and you'll arrive, right, at that new place. Whatever's going on for you right now, right, it's not permanent. Everything is subject to change, right, and you will come out the other side. All right, so our pathway can be so much smoother if we just make more of a conscious plan and conscious choices about the way where we're spending our time and energy in terms of dealing with change in our life. All right, so I hope you found this helpful. I'll be back next week with our last episode of Embracing Midlife Change. Have a great week, and I'll see you there. Play the next episode now or view the full series. For menopause nutrition plans and coaching support, join my YouTube members area. You'll find the link below this video.